serious now.
Attention, please. Guests are advised to avoid open exterior decks due to electrical storm activity.
For your safety.
Old School Will is back here again, and today we're talking about one of the biggest complaints in the cruise industry. Imagine, just for a moment, saving for an entire year, booking your vacation, paying thousands of dollars, researching excursions, watching those YouTube videos, packing your bags, boarding your ship, and then, bam. You wake up one morning and discover you're not going where you thought you were going. Instead of your dream destination, you're heading somewhere completely different. Now, folks, if you cruise long enough, you probably experienced this. The captain gets on a loudspeaker. The announcement begins, and immediately thousands of passengers start groaning, because everyone knows what's coming next.
Well, we just got an announcement from the captain.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this means that for the safety of you and our crew, we'll be unable to tender ashore today.
We regret to inform you, and that's usually where the disappointment starts. You may ask yourself, why do cruise ships skip ports? Well, the first thing many passengers ask is, why can't they just go there anyway? Well, the answer is simple, folks. It's called safety. No cruise line wants to cancel a port. Ports make passengers happy. Happy passengers spend money. Happy passengers come back. So if a cruise line skips a port, there's usually a significant reason behind it. Let's start with the biggest. And that is that weather. Weather is the number one reason cruise ships miss ports. And it doesn't have to be a hurricane. People hear weather and automatically think giant storms. Not always. High winds can prevent docking.
Oh, our lines are snapping. Look.
Wait for it.
Ooh!
Hey!
Teams of all station 1 and 2 proceed to mooring failure. Must board the attention gateway personnel. Stop traffic at three gateways. I repeat, attention teams of all station 1 and 2 and proceed to mooring failure. Must board. Attention gateway personnel. Stop traffic at three gateways. Attention all crew members. This is the bridge of the ship. The ship's watertight doors are about to be closed and watered for emergency reason. Stay clear of watertight doors. I repeat, stay clear of watertight doors.
Yep, we're about to lose those last ones. Wait for it.
Strong currents can prevent docking. Heavy swells can prevent tender operations. In other words, those little bitty boats taking you to shore. Poor visibility can prevent docking. Even a beautiful sunny day can have dangerous sea conditions. The captain isn't looking at what the weather looks like from your balcony. The captain is looking at what the conditions look like from a 130,000-ton vessel.
The wind speed helps him decide the force and direction he'll need from the propellers to steer the ship into port.
If the wind is blowing on the beam and we just steer the strait heading down the channel, we will eventually get blown to the side. So we have to account for that. Imagine us sliding along like this. We're going this direction, but we're pointed this direction. This angle difference is the crab angle. The crabs walk sideways.
Different ports call for different docking maneuvers. For example, St. Thomas in the U.S. Virgin Islands can get particularly windy because of the surrounding mountains and hills. So on days when easterly winds are over 30 knots, the ship will turn before the entrance to the channel and back up the channel to dock. Port Cozumel in Mexico is exposed to strong currents, so that docking maneuver
happens fast and has to be done in a way aggressively to get it into the current, swung, and backed out of the current and alongside.
Water.
And folks, that's a completely different story. Hurricanes and tropical systems. Now, let's talk about them hurricanes. Cruise ships spend millions monitoring storms. If a hurricane develops anywhere near the itinerary, the cruise line starts making changes immediately. You may think you're heading to the Eastern Caribbean. Next thing you know, you're in the Western Caribbean. Sometimes ships completely reverse their itineraries. Anybody remember the Titanic?
Let me take you back to 1912, a time when the world believed the largest ship ever built was completely unsinkable. Over 100 years ago, the largest ship ever built sank in just under 3 hours. Everyone thinks the Titanic sinking happened because of an iceberg, but the truth is much worse.
Okay, you might want to research that one. Other times, they replace multiple ports. Passengers get upset, but the alternative would be sailing directly into dangerous weather, and nobody wants that. Imagine that ship rocking side to side to side. Those Dramamines, they're not kicking in. People are throwing up all over the place. And wishing, wow, I wish I was back at the house. Here's one that surprises many first-time cruisers. Sometimes there are simply too many ships. Cruising is more popular than ever. You know, folks, I remember one time years ago, and I know you most of y'all don't like me talking about Carnival, but we went to Cozumel and we counted, I think it was between 10 and 15 ships docked at the same time. Not docked, but they were anchored, and anywhere they can find a parking spot, they were there. And I'm gonna try to see if I can dig out those videos from days gone by. You know, cruising is more popular than ever. Many destinations have limited docking space. If several ships arrive at the same time, like we just said, nobody may have to make adjustments. Certain ports can only accommodate a specific number of vessels. And another thing you have to take in consideration today, with these big mega ships now, a lot of these ports can't handle ships that big just yet.
Docking the biggest cruise ship in the world. Chief Officer Antonio show us how to dock the Harmony of the Seas safely in St. Thomas. This job deserves a short applause.
So they're trying to make accommodations to dock larger ships now. When schedules change, weather delays occur, or another ship has mechanical issues, the domino effect can impact everybody, and suddenly your cruise is heading somewhere else. Now, those political issues are another reason ports get skipped. Cruise lines constantly monitor conditions around the world, whether it's civil unrest.
Royal Caribbean has announced that its private enclave, Labadee, has been closed to cruise passengers for the entire year. of 2026, due largely in part to the civil unrest that started in the capital of Port-au-Prince but now seems to be spreading throughout the country.
Government warnings, security concerns, pirates. Well, I threw that one in, but I'm going to see if I can find a video of the pirates.
This area is known for piracy threats.
Therefore, we will be operating at a heightened level of security alertness during this period, and no guests will be allowed access during these times, and close the curtains of your stateroom window. In the unlikely event of an emergency, a broadcast will be made by the bridge.
This is the shit I'm talking about, man. You spend all morning sipping margaritas, having a grand old time, the night rolls around and bam, you're in Pirates of the Caribbean 6.
Transportation disruptions, and situations that could potentially place passengers at risk. If the cruise line feels conditions are unsafe, that port can disappear from the itinerary overnight. Remember, the cruise line has a responsibility to protect thousands of guests and crew members. Who in their right mind would want to become a hostage in another country?
You are now seeing terrifying footage of pirates preparing to attack a cruise ship, and within seconds, 1,500 passengers could end up trapped because of them. You've probably heard about pirate attacks on ships, but they usually target cargo vessels, since they carry valuable goods, containers that may hold brand new iPhones or even entire sports cars. That's why such cargo is much more valuable to them. As a result, these ships often have stronger protection, such as water cannons used to repel pirates or even disable their boats. For especially valuable cargo, they may even hire armed security teams. However, this time things became far more serious. The pirates decided to target a cruise ship that had only passengers on board. As soon as they started approaching, they were quickly noticed and an alarm was raised. But cruise ships usually don't have anti-piracy defenses because they are rarely attacked. Because of that, the pirates were able to get on board without much difficulty. And then horrifying events began to unfold, all of which one of the passengers was recording the entire time.
I know old school don't. I like the idea of coming back home. Now, a lot of those cruise ships can have what we call mechanical problems. Cruise ships are floating cities. They have engines, generators, water systems, navigation systems, propulsion systems, and occasionally things break. Everybody who cruises knows the poop cruise,
causing the vessel to list heavily. Passengers reported clutching walls to keep their balance. But worst of all, toilets overflowed and spilled into halls, seeping through walls to floors each time the ship tilted with the wind. Before long, images emerged of sewage-sodden carpets, bins lined with red bags, and in some cases, erupting toilets. Depending on where the drains in the bathroom were, water and fecal matter came back up, pooling in there and overflowing into the cabins. With temperatures soaring and the foul stench of human waste permeating the cabin decks, many guests dragged their mattresses to outside decks to escape the odors and sweltering heat. The news outlets were quick to react, sending helicopters out to the crippled ship. Soon, images of what would become known as Tent City flooded news channels as passengers started using bed sheets, towels, and rope to construct makeshift accommodations on the tanning deck. In a bold attempt to quell the passengers' mounting frustrations, Carnival decided to host an open bar, offering free beer and wine after the fire. The bar service was to run from afternoon until midnight, but turned out to be a terrible decision. With drinks flowing freely, several passengers became obnoxious and intoxicated, lobbing objects into the water and messing up the restrooms. By Tuesday morning, when both tugboats finally arrived, the vessel had drifted more than 90 miles north, meaning that Progreso was no longer the closest port. The decision was made to tow the 102,000-ton behemoth to Mobile, Alabama, adding another 2 days to their journey. On the bright side, returning to the U.S. would ease re-entry for the 900 passengers traveling without passports. However, the added delay risked one passenger's life. Rachel Alderet, urgently requiring dialysis, became the first of only 2 people evacuated by the Coast Guard.
They got the Coast Guards and transferred me to another boat, another ship, sent me to Cozumel to do dialysis on Tuesday. It was hard. It was scary. It was, oh my God. It was just scary the way they put me down.
Would you want to be on that ship? Okay. When that happens, ships may need to reduce speed. If a vessel can't maintain normal cruising speed, something has to give. Often, that's a port stop. Instead of arriving late and disrupting multiple destinations, the ship may skip one port entirely. And now, let's be honest. I understand why passengers get upset. Some people have been dreaming about a specific destination for years. Maybe they wanted to visit Grand Turk, Cozumel, St. Thomas, Nassau. They booked private excursions.
This might be the best cruise excursion we've ever done. We rode go-karts across Grand Bahama, through off-road trails and local streets, passing neighborhoods where Bahamians were waving hello to us. We even explored caves once inhabited by the Lakayan natives. It honestly felt like stepping back in time. And just when we thought it couldn't get any better, we rode straight into this beach in Freetown, with crystal clear water and the most unreal blue you've ever seen. Oh, and this is the same beach from Pirates of the Caribbean. So if you're cruising to the Bahamas, don't skip this.
They paid deposits. They researched those beaches, the restaurants, shopping, historical sites, and suddenly, none of it matters. That's disappointing. Nobody can deny that. Now, this is where things get interesting. Many passengers immediately demand a refund.
I spent $6,000 just to get here.
They're on board the Carnival cruise ship Vista, and they're on the verge of a mutiny. Why? Because their vacation itinerary was changed at the last minute. Passengers were expecting to visit the Caribbean islands of Aruba, Curacao, and Turks and Caicos. Instead, they were told the ship would not go very far at all. After leaving Port Canaveral, Florida, they would stop at Nassau, Princess Keys, Freeport, and Half Moon Key. Carnival said that engine trouble meant the ship could not travel at full speed. Passengers only found out about the change in the itinerary on the day the ship was to set sail. They were offered a replacement cruise if they canceled, or a $400 ship credit per cabin if they decided to stay on board. The news did not go over well.
Ladies and gentlemen, the way you're going about this with the noise and chaos isn't going to solve any issues.
But here's the reality. When you purchase a cruise ticket, you agree to the cruise contract. Buried inside all those pages is language giving the cruise line significant authority to modify itineraries. Most cruise lines reserve the right to change ports, skip ports, substitute ports, alter arrival times, alter departure times, change routes entirely. And you know, they can do so without providing a full refund. That's the part many passengers don't realize. Now, sometimes you might expect a full cruise refund. Now, you may ask, will you get your money back? Sometimes, but don't expect a full cruise refund. You still received your cabin, your meals, entertainment, transportation, activities, and the remainder of your itinerary. What often happens instead is refunded port fees, refunded excursion charges, future cruise credits, onboard credit, replacement ports. The exact compensation depends on the situation, but a full refund is relatively uncommon unless the disruption is extraordinary. You know, one thing Old School learned about cruising in all his many decades is that cruising is like a crapshoot, gambling. You never know if you're gonna hit snake eyes or not. Yeah. Now, let's talk about social media. Because every time a port gets canceled, the internet explodes. Half the passengers say, well, the captain made the right decision. The other half will say, this ruined my vacation.
People sold their house to go on this cruise, and then it was canceled. Life at Sea Cruises reportedly canceled its 3-year voyage just 2 weeks before departure because its parent company couldn't afford to secure the ship they wanted for the trip. They were offering a 3-year voyage that would cover 135 countries with tickets just over $115,000. Someone literally sold their house and gave away their cat to go on this thing.
The truth usually falls somewhere in the middle. Nobody likes missing ports. But most people also appreciate arriving home safely. I know Old School definitely appreciates that. Safety isn't exciting until something goes wrong. Then suddenly, safety becomes the most important thing on the ship. Hint, hint, Titanic. Anyhow, what those smart cruisers are better known as experienced cruisers understand something. No port is guaranteed. Let me repeat that for the folks in the back, way back in the back. None of those ports are guaranteed. Not one. The itinerary is always subject to change. That's why experienced cruisers purchase travel insurance, remain flexible, avoid booking non-refundable independent excursions. They understand weather seasons. They research alternative activities. And most importantly, they enjoy the ship, because if your entire vacation depends on one port stop, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. At the end of the day, folks, cruise ships don't skip ports because they want to. They skip ports because something made that destination unsafe, unavailable, or impractical. Could cruise lines communicate better? Well, sometimes. Could passengers show more understanding? Sometimes. The reality is that cruising is an adventure, and adventures don't always go exactly as planned. The key is understanding that flexibility is part of the experience. You may not always wake up where you expected, but hopefully you still wake up somewhere worth exploring. What about you? Have you ever had a cruise ship skip a port? Did the cruise line compensate you? Were you satisfied with how they handled it? Let everybody know down in those comment sections there. If you enjoyed today's discussion, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with someone planning their next cruise vacation. Well, folks, this is Old School Will, and as always, y'all stay blessed.